Appreciate it.
All right. You want to do your fuel tank now, or I don't see anybody from food back here. Are you presenting this as commissioners?
Say it again, Dave.
This fuel tank.
Yeah. We're probably gonna be looking at a cost somewhere around 400,000 when it's all said and done. Plumbing in. The first initial bid was 400 and some odd, but that company went out of business. And right now, we got, 5 weeks. 3 months on the way. So if we order right now, it's quarter-inch steel with fiberglass coating over top of it. And if we go ahead and order now, it's quarter-inch steel plating, I think. But it's getting harder and harder to come by, and I have some told us we have to.
Yeah, we have no choice.
Did you say 400,000?
Well, the original one with the monitors and the pumps and the wiring and the plumbing, and it's parallel 2 tanks side by side. And the first initial tank was 440,000. What we got there is the latest one coming out of Evansville, and it's 2 tanks, no plumbing, no monitors, no piping, no nothing else. So based on, we're probably gonna be in that neighborhood of the total thing.
So the tank, this what we're seeing right here.
What you see there is 2 new tanks, no plumbing, no monitors, no pumps, no plumbing whatsoever.
And that's not even delivered freight, you gotta put freight on that, and
Tanks for what?
fuel tanks.
Yeah, fuel
For the
tanks
highway.
for highway department.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You gotta remove the old tanks, and you got all the plumbing, hardware, monitoring system, and dispose of the old ones.
What they bid for there is just the tanks itself, but there will be additional on top of it. But they won't give us any more quote, and they won't price no freight right now at all.
Until we order.
So will these be going into existing dikes?
No, it's
It's
going
not
underground.
They're going
They're
underground.
going underground,
Up there at the highway department.
Yes.
They're underground.
right there in front of the main office,
Yeah.
that section, and there's a building there. And then they got gas, and then we got diesel. Right now, I think it's a 16,000 gallon diesel.
$30-year life.
30-year warranty on these, or guarantee or whatever.
So, you gotta redo your monitoring wells and all that, and excavation.
Yeah, and ours is outdated.
And so if there is contamination, then you get to pay on top of that for this first of that.
We've not had any leaks that we're aware of. Because it's monitored, twice a year, and we're not aware of any, I don't see any.
I think I didn't base it on the age of our tanks. The reason they're telling us we have to get rid of them. They run their life and they go on.
That was just it, was the lifespan went out. They said, therefore you will get new tanks.
Okay, I heard some discussion in there, you looked at if this is legitimate as far as the use with this plan. And you referenced, I heard something about some page numbers. Was that part of this?
We were talking about the tourism, but she
Okay.
called, or Kyra and Phil called Brian Colton, I understand, is that right?
Dan,
Oh,
in
Dan.
Baker Tilly, and it was approved.
Yeah, Brock, you have any comments?
Well, what's the, alternative, I guess?
Have one. And we'll, I mean, to be honest with you, that's the only tanks that we could find that we can even get a hold of. And like I said, we got, I think it's 3 months before we can get the tanks.
Lead times, 32 weeks.
32 weeks.
The alternative is an item comes along someday, if we don't do anything, it shuts us down. And then we can't run the roads. Well, we'd have to do some creative thinking on where we're gonna get fuel at. And of course, the whole purpose of having our own tanks is so we can bid the fuel off every year. Just, we save a lot of money doing that rather than stopping by, you know, and have a contract with a gas station. Obviously, we would, when they go fuel up in the morning, they would crowd the place up anyway. It just wouldn't work too good. Really no different than a farm in a sense.
But to answer your question, we have no other alternative. We have to do it.
Well, okay. I know that we've dealt with some big ticket items, you know, directly dealing with the infrastructure of the county in there.
Excuse me.
So you're wanting to make this decision by your next meeting or even tonight?
If we make it tonight, they'll be ordered tomorrow and get it in the process so that they're at least on the way before the price goes up.
We were only carrying, what, 67,000 over from the last in there, working with a 2.74 for the next draw. We already made some commitments from the previous meeting.
What's the sale price there? And we'll check it, I said it.
No, it didn't say.
I don't think we have to pay for it right now.
Well, it's just gonna take what we've got to work with by the end of the year. Because we've got some things that we'd like to probably do again, you know, like for the fire departments in there. I'm just trying to figure out where we'd be at. I'll just talk off the cut. I've been trying to think and visualize, you know, how we can keep enough money back to do a major water project. You know, we had, you know, two that's come past us in there, and maybe that'll never happen because we've got to get some other entities involved, but especially the water companies.
If you're speaking of the one out there between Mount Tabor Road, when Mr. Horner came in there, I was all enthused when I first heard of that and thought we could help them. But the problem is East Washington's line that is even near that is only a 4-inch line. The closest one and the most logical one would be a connection with the city of Salem, because they've got a 6 or an 8-inch line out there. But I'm just calling it like it is. The mayor just doesn't want to do it. And he would probably dearly love for us to do it, but it's almost $2 million. Now, we can't hold a gun on the city of Salem. I suppose if we gave him $2 million, they would do it, but he just doesn't act like, I don't know whether they don't want the business or they just got too many other I mean, they've got lots of infrastructure problems in their system the way it is. I mean, there are main lines within the city of Salem going from here to there, towers that are put together with bands. And I think he would probably rather put what money he gets for water on improving that. So, it's a sad thing to say, but I don't, we can't force Salem to do that.
Well, by basically next March, we gotta have all the funding spoken for, right? And then we got 2 years to get everything implemented.
26, everything's got to be started in 24.
Gotta be started.
It starts in 22.
Yeah.
It's got to be in the process in 24, but it goes to 26 for the finalization. Complete. It's got to be completed by 26. So we have 2 years after 24 if we're signing everything up now. Last year, we had our money in March or May, but we haven't. And right now, I think we're looking at postponing our meetings so we finally get this money in. They have never cut it loose yet. So what we got right now, what we got, till we go to the next draw.
Okay. Well, so am I dreaming of being able to kind of hold back for a project like this? Or,
I think we gotta be cautious, but right now, we know what we got. We know the commitments you've made so far. And like the tag deal we did, assuming, and I don't see anybody pulling out of it, nobody stated it. I don't know that anybody's got their money yet on the second draw. And we should know in the next week or two we're gonna get it. There's gonna be a lot of messed up people if they don't get it, because there's been a lot of commitments made.
well, I don't want to promise anything we can't, produce.
That's just the problem right there.
You
You know, you talk about a project of $2 million,
Just,
unless somebody else is doing it.
well, something's gotta happen for us to allow to piggyback on it, because
Right.
we're not gonna be able to be a full funding project or something like that. That's actually gonna take some planning, significant forward planning on that. And like I said, if the mayor doesn't see that in front of him, as a viable project, and I understand because they got more safety cones out where they're digging places up and fixing water lines. I'm surprised they can keep water pressure up. I tell you what, the system is old.
Dave, there's not a city in this United States right now that's having very good on water.
Well, Louisville, what they're doing in there, they're digging up 100-year water systems.
Well, this town's full of them too. What we put in 40, 50 years ago.
They don't even want to talk about storm sewers, what they're made out of. Oh, yeah.
This ain't gonna be a life of roses, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, their infrastructure has been neglected too long.
It has.
That's just it.
And if you don't keep up with it, you get problems down the road.
Well, Metries Reynolds made a fortune putting liners in, for cities and stuff like that. So, still doing that. Well, all right. That's discussion. Back here in there. One comments I got is that is the courthouse ventilation and stuff. Got to be around 900,000 in there, and then we're gonna stick $400,000 in the ground, out there.
Well,
So there's 1.3.
Your point?
You talk about, I remember a young man starting out in the hog business, building the first confinement building. Have you done anything to that building since you built it?
Oh,
And why did you do that?
yeah, but just to keep it operating,
And you have to. And there's not a person in this place that don't have a house, a barn, a business, or what have you. And if we don't put money into it, it gets ahead of us. Now, we're here in a 200-year-old building, still operating.
Yeah,
I think we'll look at the electric bill today, but I won't know for sure tonight, but I think we dropped $300 on our electric bill here. We do have a complete due system in it. We pretty well rewired to modern LED lighting, which has helped that electric bill. But if you walk down the halls and look at cast iron plumbing, you've got a problem coming there.
oh, I see a lot of things.
But we will have that problem. And in today's world, if we don't keep up with it and we don't stay after it, we'll end up what we've been doing in the past 10 years, trying to play catch up to keep everything modernized.
Yeah.
And technology keeps changing day by day.
Have you looked at what the cost of putting in this tank above ground?
Yeah, I have, but then I found out we got trouble. If you do that, you gotta put a moisture accumulator on it, which does still get by and give you trouble with your engines, with water and diesel. And Gable Temple's the closest one I know of right now that's got one on top of the ground, but they still have moisture problems because of the condensation in the tank itself sweats, and they put filters on it, but the moisture still gets ahead of it. And if you get it tied up your diesel, then you got your trucks broke down.
Is it because we're limited on space is the reason they're on the ground, in the ground right now?
We don't have no space out there. To be honest with you, without growing that place, or all our equipment's getting bigger and bigger and more of it. We're not gaining in roads. We ordered 2 trucks 2 years ago, supposed to be in the 1st of June. They come back about a year and a half, wanted more money for what they'd already contracted. We said no. So we were supposed to get them the 1st of June, and we say ain't heard from them. Reading right now is having trouble with steel.
Well, the reason I'm asking these questions in there, I don't know of any farm putting fuel tanks in the ground again. I really don't.
You don't know anyone?
Any farm that's putting fuel tanks in the ground again.
Well, I think the highway department uses about at least 5 times more fuel than the average farmer, maybe 10 times.
Well, there's other reasons, and I've had to deal with tanks, coming out of the ground in there. Of course, it's, I know gas stations are still buried with fiberglass and that, but of course, a lot of times they use a lot they are as far as coming in and out of there. But that's the reason I'm going, why are we still in the ground, out
The
there?
only thing I found out, because I'd asked about it, and if you go above the ground, you gotta build a berm around it.
Oh, I believe.
And if you do that, but the moisture was the biggest drawback in what it does to your equipment.
And they're much safer underground. You don't have to worry about somebody hitting
Well,
them or blowing them up.
or shooting at them or whatever.
our case room.
Room's a big thing.
Because I know that monitoring wells and those type of things, well, a lot of regulatory is the reason a lot of these systems come up, out of the ground. And I hate to put something in money, $400,000, that in 5 years, they say, they gotta come out of the ground.
And who knows what IDM's gonna do?
Well, that's it, you know, and, I can't predict that either.
We can't either.
And I know fertilizer and, fuels and stuff on farms are diked and above ground.
I'm not opposed to it. I like to do the cheapest thing to have to, I just know that we gotta go to the expense of digging them up. There's nothing wrong right now, but IDM says they have to come up, and we could be 2 years to do it. Now, we're gonna come up with the money in 2 years,
Well,
who knows?
before I would actually go in there and say, yeah, that's your only alternative, I would like to see the alternative. You know, the fuel of the above system where you would put them and stuff like that.
There is no place to put them.
Yeah, but, I mean, yeah, you say that, but in there, but you got an adjacent lot just right across the highway department there where you're putting sewers and that type of stuff. You can put it down.
Where are we gonna store sewer pipes?
Well, I'm just saying that I don't see, the reason I say this, all right, and I'll go back to some past history. You won't see a single lagoon ever put up again in the state of Indiana because of ID.
Lagoon.
You will not put an earthen manure lagoon in the state of Indiana. It will not happen. You can't put it in there because they made it prohibited in that. So instead of, of having even the underground storages in there, there's got to be a building over the top of it. But as far as those type of storages, they're trying to get everything that they can in concrete and above ground. And I think one of these days, you're going to find gas stations that underground fuel tanks will be illegal. I really do.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't see how that could be.
Oh, I see it coming. I see it coming.
Well, there will be no need for fuel tanks when we're all electric.
Well, when we're all electric, that's right. So,
No need for.
but we'll all wait for that, But that's the reason I say that. Because I'm sitting in there with those regulatory committee guys with IDM in there, and their forte, out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground.
Electric.
Well, now they even though you got test wells, they can't see it. It's just like a water line. You can tell for a leak, you can see it in there. It's the same thing. And it all has to do with monitoring in that.
That's what the system's on today.
So that's the reason why I say that. And I may be totally wrong
Well,
after the work.
Either way you go, the tanks itself, whether they're mounted up, mounted under, the tanks itself are gonna have.
Right.
Now, whether you put them on top of the ground or put them under the ground, they can be more research put into, consideration why, but you're still gonna have to have that tank.
Oh, I don't think you can get away with not having a tank. My thing is sticking something in the ground with the hopes that I get to change your mind in 5 years. Now, dike systems in there, as long as they can see them in there, and they're monitored in there. And it all has to do with monitoring.
That's a chance that we're willing to take.
But at the same token, Dave, well, just for example, this one town itself, how many underground tanks we got buried all around here at all these gas stations?
I'm saying nobody's gonna be immune. There's gonna be a certain amount of grandfathering. When you try to put something else in there, then it's not gonna happen.
You're talking about trying to predict the future.
Well, I've seen
Good
the
luck with
idea,
that.
I've seen the idea of work too many things, you know, yeah, I just really, you won't see a farm go in there and stick them in the ground anymore. And there's 5,000 and 6,000 gallon fuel tanks on farms in there. Well, you'll never see them in the ground on a farm.
I'm more concerned about putting fuel in them right now.
Well, I understand that. All right. Well, that's my recommendation, is to get what that costs to put them up above. Now, you may say it's prohibitive on the space, you know, as far as where to put them and stuff like that, but, you know, I would want to take a look at it. Because I'm thinking you're a lot, even though that the tank is up there, and it all has to do with monitoring.
Well, and you know accidents happen. But where the fuel tanks are out there on top of the ground, I'll take away from what you're saying. And like I said, I checked into, can we do it? And they said the pressure problem was it. But if you go expose the tanks out there and put a berm around it, you definitely would have to, so it's in the truck and the plow, they'll go plowing into it. We're confined out there from the graders and everything out there. It's a catch-22. You solve one problem, but you create another. And you fix that problem, but you got another. And you move your problems around. And that's what we are. But as far as on top of the ground or under the ground, it doesn't matter. You still need to come back to, we've got to have the tanks.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we do. Where it's mounted, how it's mounted, who does it, how.
The clock is ticking. We've got a 32-week lead time right now. And we've been told they need replaced, so
Well, our quote's not that long, so, I mean, at that price, steel ain't going down, fuel ain't going down.
That's my 2 cents.
Rob? You want to put in 2 more?
So, well, I'm divided. I'm not saying that you don't need to put the tanks in, but I don't want to do it twice.
Well, I guess the question here is, what is your view on buying the tanks tonight? So it's the same tank, whether you go up or down, either way.
Well, I think that's a no-brainer. But whether to go ahead and bury them in there, I don't. I have an uncomfort with that.
And you say I disagree with you.
And I honestly, and there's some things that's happening right now in the city of Salem that have a possibility to actually throw up a real can of worms. Because you got an intersection, used to have 3 gas stations, you know, on the corners. And they're gonna be digging that up.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you don't just take a backhoe out and dig these tanks up. And tanks gotta be got rid of.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be got rid of the right way. And you don't get Joe Blow with his backhoe out there and digging one of these up. It's all gotta be done by IDEM specs. And then you gotta get rid of that tank. And you don't just take it to the landfill. You gotta go through step by step on that too. And it's safe to step there, because ain't it? You want to talk about right there at the stoplight?
Yes.
It's been there for 10 years, not been open.
Right.
You know what I had sold?
Probably could have laid leaking tanks.
It's got a leaking tank in it, and nobody gets a $20-something thousand bill to extract that tank on top of the purchase of the building. And that building can't sell.
I don't doubt that a bit.
And whoever puts their hands on it, they're having pretty good business.
Yep. All right. Well, that's my reservation. It's not that whether you have to replace the tank and that, it's just that I am just, the burying the tank, the fuel tank in there, I don't see the longevity of it. I know why gas stations do it, you know, and stuff like that. And they're monitoring wells and all that, but, it's just too costly to extract them, to get rid of them. You've got a burner already set up, you got a tank that goes through its 30-year life. You bring a crane in, you set another tank in there, you're good to go.
30 years.
So, in other words, you're telling me, Todd, we shouldn't have to worry about it then?
You won't have to worry about it, and I won't have to worry about it.
Well, all right.
So much for-
Well, that's my only thing in here. You know,
You feel bad?
No, I didn't, now you're coming.
all right. It's not whether you have the tanks in there, it's just whether, if it's a good idea to bury it, as far as I'm concerned.
I won't argue with it. I really won't.
Okay.
All I can say to it too is just some moisture problem does kind of scare me.
Well,
I'm
you,
sure some kind of filter could be put on.
well, you heard my reservation, Rob, he doesn't care, he's not gonna worry about it and stuff, but,
I'm not living so
that's just my part, it's just that, I think it has to be replaced in there. So you already checked the legalities of the money being used that way. All right. Can we go move on to the food bank? All right, we got this was in this afternoon, right?